Hello guys, it's me Zane. Okay, this table is going to get dirty anyway, so today we're gonna look at the Synthic. Well, synthetic like equivalent of sphagnum moss. A few years ago, I think it was already a few years ago, I made a review about the product, and today we're gonna look at the evolution of this plant and the evolution of this material. Consider subscribing to my channel and also hitting the bell button. Also, you can look at my Instagram account where, if you follow me, you can find weekly quizzes like every Tuesday. I'm not saying it's going to be a regular thing. For now, it's a regular thing, and yeah, it's fun. So yeah, let's start working with this guy. Okay, so this video is going to be a straight up dumpster fire, but that's what you're here for, so everything's fine. Quick history with everything. I reviewed this product. This is Synthic. Basically the inorganic equivalent of sphagnum moss. I tried it out. I tried out different like potting styles and methods and everything. I don't know, in some of my videos in the springtime I repotted my Keddie into a full sphagnum moss setup. That Keddie was actually potted in pure Synthic. It didn't work out well, so I decided to change it back to sphagnum moss. But before we check out anything, we have to check out this plant, because this plant is, at first it was like mislabeled as a shallop Tolkien. Well, it's not that plant, it's a Oncidium I don't know, something Oncidium Dark Star. I decided to put it up into leca pieces mixed with Synthic because I wanted to recreate the equivalent of the potting style if you mix sphagnum moss with bark chips. While Synthic is basically the world's first synthetic sphagnum, as they claim. It's basically 20% more water absorbent. Now I repotted this orchid into this pot as I repot any other orchid, and as you can see, it's just spilling out on every side. It's already outgrown this pot, and right now I decided to pot it, and I decided to do a review for the Synthic because this plant was in this setup for years now, and well, since it's not degrading or anything, wow, this is wet? It's not, it's just weird. Well, this is the point where the local lawn movers on the street decided to like do their best. So most probably there's gonna be noise. So guess what? You're getting another voiceover until I'm repotting. So we're gonna see what happened inside the pot. Like, there are not a lot of roots, but there are definitely some roots there. Maybe this is not like the best material, but still I want to keep this experiment since it was going for years. And as you can see, this orchid is pretty bushy. The growths are not like the biggest, but there are some really exciting new growths happening on this plant and growing on this plant, so that's really exciting. So right now, since it's just starting to grow some new roots, I want to repot it, but it's not gonna be a huge repot anyways, since I don't have to change the medium. I don't have to change basically anything. I'm just gonna place this root system as it is inside this pot. We're gonna fill up the remaining gaps with some new material. Let's see what's gonna happen. Let's dive into madness. Let's do this. This is the third time that I'm making this voiceover because everything was against me. Everything was against this voiceover right now. So now I'm gonna talk about Synthic and also what is going on the screen. So I'm just removing these clips and wires because I had to train this orchid because it was bushy and it was growing basically everywhere. And after it, the usual, I will squeeze the pot and try to force the orchid out from its original pot. Okay, so this is the third year of this orchid in this setup, because at first I uploaded the video of this orchid being potted into this pot and into this medium on May 11th in 2016. So yeah, that was quite a long time ago. I just pulled the orchid off from its container and I was amazed by the lack of a root system for this bushy orchid. Actually, there were a few dead roots in this root ball, but I decided to leave them just there because I just wanted to continue with this experiment without actually going in and messing up the root system. Yeah, Zane, observing the roots. But that's the thing. So it was 3 years ago, and in those 3 years I only got one single rebloom, and I think I might have a reason for that. So right now what's happening, I'm just pulling these Synthic pieces out of the bag, and this is going to be my first layer. Just as I do with sphagnum moss, I'm gonna do a base layer with Synthic, so that will help wick up the moisture if there is any moisture left in the tray. So after I repotted this orchid 3 years ago, at first the growth started to get smaller and smaller. Well, you know, that was a shock for the orchid, so that wasn't really good, but you know, it was a repot, so I actually kind of thought it's going to be a shock. And after that the orchid rebloomed once, and then it started to get bushier and bushier, and right now this plant just basically wants to take over the whole world, because I pretty much started out 3 years ago with a normal sized orchid with just a few pseudobulbs, as you might get these Oncidium types in the garden center. Well, this one was different. It was like, hey bitch, I want to grow and then I want to take over your whole collection and the space. This plant decided to throw out new growth on every side, and I constantly had like 4 or 5 new growths at a time growing. So you know, since the orchid is sharing its energy between a lot of growths and not only one growth, the growths were smaller and stuff, and maybe that is the reason that this orchid decided not to bloom like after that one rebloom, because when one rebloom happened, I think there wasn't like a lot of growth happening at the same time. So that might be a reason, but also that might not be a reason. Right now on the screen I'm just doing this base layer, this bottom layer. I decided to go with the same ratio. It's basically a little bit less Synthic and more leca pebbles, since the Synthic, well, it can store more moisture than sphagnum moss. And right now I just try to position it that the new growth will face these empty parts of the pot, since I want these roots to like have enough space to grow into this medium, and the older parts, which will like not create hopefully any new growth, those are going to be next to the side of the pot. Now the root system is tiny and I don't have a reason for that. This orchid is pretty bushy, and I thought that this bushy orchid is supposed to have a lot bigger root system, and maybe that's the fault of the Synthic and the leca, and maybe there are some properties that the orchid doesn't like in this setup. But still, if it was capable of producing these big pseudobulbs, because right now it's like, it seems that it's again producing a lot bigger growth than previously. So I thought that maybe right now everything's going to be fine, and with this tiny root system it was capable of doing these bigger pseudobulbs, and just continue the experiment with Synthic, you know. And after that I just tried to like fill up these gaps in the pot, and that's all what I was doing. Now I want to mention that when I repotted this orchid, there was only a tiny root system, and I think those older dead roots which I saw when I took this orchid out from the pot, I think they might have been those old roots which were like already alive for a couple of years when I repotted it, and the repot was a shock. So there might be that, but also there might be some newer roots also that there. So yeah, we'll see what's gonna happen. Yeah, I was just tapping on the sides of the pot because that's a thing. It will help the medium actually fall into the gaps inside the pot. And also I tried to mimic the original ratio of the Synthic and the leca pebbles which this orchid was potted in. While right now you can see that huge, ugly brown spot or patch on that pseudobulb. I have to tell you, I don't know what is it. I think it's not sunburn, it's not spreading, it's just there. Maybe it's an infection which is already stopped and it's just there, stopped, and it's not going anywhere, and it's not affecting any more like cells of the orchid, which would be great. I don't know, it's just not moving, it's just there, and that's that. Right now it's kind of boring what I'm doing there. It's not even in focus, so whatever. So basically I'm just finishing this repot, I'm just filling in the gaps, tapping on the pots so everything will fall on its place. There will be like no too big air gaps inside the pot because Oncidium types don't like that, and I'm still not in focus, so that's really great. And then I try to like remove some of these dry brown sheets, but then I got bored of it, so whatever, Zane, whatever. So I just placed it in a different decorative container and called it a fucking day. I decided, yes, bitch, I will water you and then I will forget about you for another couple of years and hopefully you will rebloom. If not, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be so mad that I cannot believe. Right now, as I'm looking at it, these new growths are still spilling out from the pot. It looks like it just wants to conquer my whole collection. This orchid is still big for this pot, but I didn't have any other or bigger pots, so I guess that's good. So we'll see about the root development in Synthic. So far, I have to tell you that the roots like don't bother like being in Synthic, they don't stop growing because of Synthic. So yeah, I think this is my video for today and I hope you liked it. So if you liked it, click on the like button. If you want to leave a comment, you can leave a comment down in my Novito section. And you can follow me on Instagram and you can fill out my quizzes on Instagram because they are fun. And yeah,